Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mohamad Rizal Rosnan from the Engineering Faculty of Power. Today I would like to present on my practical experience at JKR Cawangan Kejuruteraan Elektrik that located at Kampung Temiang in Ipoh, Perak. First of all, I would like to introduce about the JKR CKE. The first one is about it was established on 1972. At first, it was located at main JKR Perak at the 7th floor, and then on 1st April 1979, it was operated on its building, which is at Kampung Temiang. The objective for the JKR was to give the project at high quality at the given time and with estimated cost which had been instructed. The second division was to give high services and in aspect of asset management, project management, and in engineering. And then we will proceed on the mission of JKR, which was to help customers, to give service, to give high quality lifestyle, to enforce the competencies of engineering, and to raise the model and new competency. Prioritize in integrity, and then so on. Now we will proceed on specification of JKR, which is contained of from LS1 until LS20, which means have 20 specification for each installation of wiring. So they have many types, which is from LS1 until LS20 for low voltage internal electrical installation for our house, office, and then for LS2 automatic power factor, we can see an MSB, and then so on. They had their own function. So there's a few blank on specification due to my mistake. This is the continuation of the specification of JKR. In JKR, there was a project cycle, which is from planning to design to perolehan, which achieved. It was for prapembinaan, and then for the construction is construct and the PON. So design is divided by two, is drawing and BOQ, which means bill of quantities. So along this slide, I will explain it. This is for example for JMAL or EMAL, which means JKR Material Approval List or Electrical Material Approval List. So there are a few, which mean Green Product Directory, EMAL Electrical Material Approval List, RMAL Road Material Approval List, MMAL Mechanical Material List. So these are all the specification that needed to be achieved from contractors. Now we will proceed to week 1. In the week 1, I learned about on traffic lights, feeder pillar, street lamp, MMC, conduit, cable, MCCB, RCCB, MCB, the testing, common testing, and the concept of UN. This example of traffic light, which means the old design, and there was a new design where we use the LED. So in this work, we try to maintenance on traffic light, whether it's good or not, and the body of the traffic light is being separated and being done as a reserve for the future. So we proceed to the feeder pillar. The first one is the traffic light feeder pillar, which compromise of PLC, RAM card, detector card, the power supply, and so on. And the third picture was the street lamp feeder pillar, and with the photocell. Photocell we can see at the fourth picture, where when night come, the street lamp will on. MMC was a multimedia connect, where it was a organization that promote on Ethernet and internet installation. So they teach us how to make a proper installation through CAT cable, rack system, and the component of the fiber optic and so on. They teach on how to install it through Google Map and Google Meet. So this is example through the meeting. Now we proceed to the conduit and trunking. The first until the fourth was an example of trunking that meet the specification of JKR. So all of this material was given by the construction contractor, where before it being approval by JKR. So JKR need to approve what material they will be used. Next, we proceed on cable size with the compromise of 1.5 until 6 mm. So from what I learned is 1.5 mm we can use for lighting and fan installation. The 2.5 mm was for the socket installation, which need to be exactly same as specification, and the 4 mm was used for the aircon installation. So we proceed on MCCB, RCCB, and MCB. All of this was used in protect our electrical appliance. The first one was MCCB for 3-phase, second one MCCB single phase, the third one was RCCB single phase, and then C32 and C6, which mean MCB, which are the red one and the green one, MCB. This C32 was always used for the socket, and C6 was used in installation of fan and light. There was 5 common of testing, which was continuity, polarity, functionality, loading, what we call it, insulation, and then lastly was observation. This observation can be gained from experience, from our lifetime. So the concept of UN was used by the Chinese contractor, where it estimated on how long we want to strip the cable. Now we will proceed to the week 2. So in this week 2, I was learned on how to use the meter, how the testing on continuity, polarity, insulation, leakage current, how to know the observation and functionality, how to test RCCB, and how to test on earth electrode. This is example of meter, which is clamp meter, digital meter, socket tester. Socket tester will determine on how the connection of the wire based on the dot of light. And then we proceed to RCCB tester, insulation and continuity meter, digital earth meter, road plus cable, red, yellow, and green. So RCCB tester was used to know how fast the RCCB can trip, and then insulation and continuity meter can be used to measure how the cable can stand on supply and how the continuity of the cable. Digital earth meter was used in determine on the earth road quality. This was example for continuity. This was for the example of the polarity. This was for the testing on insulation. Instead, testing on insulation was we need to remove all the load, and then we will know how the wire can stand on distributed voltage. This calorimeter was used in determine the leakage current or which wire contain current without removing the wire. So when the sum of switch is turned on, there was some wire that we can determine. So if we clamp all the wire, we know the wire is there, and then clamp one of them, we already know which the wire was used for the switch. This was testing on our observation and how the functionality of the installation. This is an example of the circuit diagram that tests on RCCB, how fast the RCCB can trip. So this is an example of diagram for testing of earth electrode, which contain of first the green one was earth electrode, the yellow one was voltage differential, the third one is current ampere. So we just need to move the yellow one or the red one, but we prefer to remove the yellow one for 6 meter to the right and 6 meter to the left from the center. So we can get 3 reading. From the 3 reading, we will divide it by 3 and we can get the actual value of the quality earth root. And then we proceed to the week 3. This was what I learned on week 3, which is a testing and a chamber, copper tape, LS1, BQ, the symbol and the sketch, the calculation of TCL and MD, AutoCAD, and the book of we call it book tawaran. So this was we used to testing the chamber, which been led by Cik Jalil. So the second picture was the earth root that being clamped with the copper tape, and the third one is the earth chamber, we call it. This is an example of the copper tape for the first picture, and the second picture was the application of the copper tape is for protection against the from the thunder. And then the third is my AutoCAD, which is used to estimate or determine the length of copper tape used. This is an example of specification of LS, which for LS1. Now we proceed to BOQ, which means bill of quantity. Bill of quantity comprises of the number units of electrical appliance such as socket, the lamp, pentaflow lamp, spotlight, and then the length of the wire. So this BOQ comprises also the price of each unit or on the table. The first my task was on Balai Polis Malim Nawar and then Balai Polis Gopeng, Perak, which used to check the contractor whether they cheat or not on installation. This is example of symbol which comprise of single pentaflow, small one pentaflow, a double pentaflow, the type of socket, and the MSB. This was from out of many, 3 from out of many. There are many tables of the symbol, but it's a basic. Now we proceed to the calculation of total connected load and maximum demand. So from this one, we can determine the TCL watt from this table, the left one table, by calculating the number of units at the MCB, which is from 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the number of circuitry, and times with the number of watts, we can get the total watt for the each circuit, and there will be a spare circuit for the future use. And then all the up was the calculation on the TCL and the MD. The diversity factor was used on the how 10 we need to maintenance, or just like this was on the our usage, so 0.8 we based on the spec. And then from the 0.8 will determine our maximum demand, which is for 160 watt, which the current we can determine through the formulas. So when we have determined the maximum demand and TCL watt from each RCCB, so the RCCB was the sensitivity was 100 milliampere for each one. So we don't care about the magnitude of 63, but we just want the sensitivity. And then based on the 3 RCCB circuit, we will determine which one was the high current. So we will choose the 2.63 current, which is the third one. And then we can see the maximum demand and the maximum demand from the top and the bottom was same. The maximum demand at the bottom was for the distribution box, and TCL also was for the distribution box. So we can determine through the current with the higher current. The AutoCAD used was the latest version, which is AutoCAD Electrical of 2020. Now we proceed to the week 4. For the week 4, I just focus on the we call it the technique based on the book of technique from chapter 1 until chapter 4. So chapter 1 until chapter 4 was explained on how the size of room MSB with getting supply from TMB, and then go to the main switch board, and then go to the circuit breaker or switch gear, and then go through the supply. And then for the chapter 3, guideline for interior lighting using lumen method. So chapter 3 teach me on how to calculate the lux. Lux was the level of lighting which is used in office, room, so they have standard. And then chapter 4 was other lighting. The other lighting always being used on industrial purpose, which contain of other colors like blue, orange, just like that. And then they also have different type of light that not same as our home. Now we proceed to the week 5. So what I learned was I was attend on the uses of Dicentis system, learning on chapter 5 of technique books, bill of quantity for the Sekolah Kebangsaan Tok Indra Wangsa Ahmad at Batu Gajah. The third one about genset or electrical generator, and then MSB at the SUK Perak, which is main switch board, IDMT, and then the type of transformer. So this is example of the Dicentis system, which is the most advanced in our country based on the technological. So this was used on the they want undangan negeri, where all the will be used for conference system. So for chapter 5 is about on guidelines for schematic design. So it's just like how to use AutoCAD, on how we want to label, how we want to grouping the lighting, fan unit, how we want to distribute the power based on grouping, based on the distribution boards and main switch boards. So the standard of socket outlet, which mean socket like our home, such as for maximum 4 socket for a direct circuit, and then 6 maximum socket for ring circuit, and then we can design and drawing the distribution board for other load. This was a bill of quantity for the primary school, where it was led by Encik Megat. We was tasked by checking all the new wiring installation such as sockets, aircon, light, fan, and distribution board. Now we proceed to the genset or generator of electrical, where I was showed on how it was worked. So there was a little MSB where we can control the output, or we can see the output value based on kilowatt, ampere, percentage of usage at its main switch. So when it was a portable genset for 1000 ampere, can light up for a whole village. So this brother show us on how to install it on the feeder pillar of power supply, this next to the TNB supply. So the third is show on how to install it. So we proceed to the circuit breaker at the main switch board. So there are many types of circuit breaker, which is air circuit breaker, vacuum circuit breaker, oil circuit breaker. We name as ACB, OCB, and VCB. So the first picture at the top, at the left, was main substrate. So at the main substrate, we always put the air circuit breaker. So for the vacuum was the supply to the transformer. The supply to the transformer, we can use the vacuum circuit breaker. So we can see all of these circuit breaker at the room of MSB, where the TNB supply come. This is inverse definite minimum time relay, or IDMT. It was the old technological item, and now being replaceable with digital power meter, where it can show the kilowatt, the number of ampere. So this IDMT show or we call it the relay or the current relay. The current relay was the middle one, which comprised of red, yellow, and blue. So the single one was for the relay. So when there was fault, the little flag at the right top will pop up, and then there was a button at the label this. You can push it, and the flag will be turned down. So this type of transformer is one for the dry type, and the second one for the wet type. So the dry type is to installation, is to keep, no need to maintenance. But it not last for the long enough. So the the type of oil transformer was always used in industry. It was need to be maintenance because we need to check each oil um, based at the meter, and then the it lasts long. So the maintenance was very difficult compared to the dry type. Now we will proceed to the weak seats. There are two chapters that I learned from the technique books, which is switchboard and distribution system. The second one was reticulation, cable size and voltage drop calculation. And then the sketch of flyover, the, the the exposure on part of feeder pillar of the street lamp, and then the making of AutoCAD of the flyover and the feeder pillar. This switchboard and distribution system tell us on how about the type of switchboard, type of incoming switchgear, the number of TMB incomers, and so on. The chapter 7 compromise of the correction factors, where this always used in the power factor box, which was located at the MSB, and then the relationship of current carrying capacity to other circuit parameters, determination of self cable. Self cable will always use for the voltage drop, where we can determine the self cable based on the catalog of the manufacturer of the cable, and then the type of cable commonly used. So there are two types, with for the different purpose at the different temperature. So this the sketch or the AutoCAD sketch of the flyover Jalan Sultan Azlan Shah. This exposed on the component of the feeder pillar of the street lamp and the street lamp itself, with compromise of the fuse, the TMB incomers from the bottom, and then there was a MCCB, the contactor relay, MCB, ZCT, and the switch bypass, time chain, and the photocell. So the second picture was the lamp with compromise of neutraling. The incomers are from the red, yellow, blue from the TMB. There was two feeder pillar for each sides. So these two feeder pillar light up 72 lamps. This is example of the AutoCAD on the schematic design of the feeder pillar, which the top one was the number of the lamp. It should be 1818 because there are 72. There are two feeder pillars, so 18, and this one 18 and 18. So each feeder pillar comprises of 36 36 lamp, and then this sketch compromise of the contactor relay. Contactor relay was this one, the 3. ZCT was the isolator. I'm so sorry. And the TMB incoming was from the bottom. So since the incoming was the in 3-phase, we can use only a single line in represent the 3-phase wire. Now we proceed to the week 7. What I learned was the correction of the logbook, making the socket of the partition, the making of AutoCAD of the lamp and the socket of JKR, the power factor, and the neutraling. So this is example that I had done. This is making the socket for the partition. So there I had need to be precaution due to the wire was what we call had a supply. So since the people had to do their work, so we need to tape the wire for the protection. So when the neutral had been put out the tape, I need to be careful from touching any metal due to it will trip the RCCB, and it will disrupt the people works. This is example of the plan for the JKR. This is for the socket plan of the JKR. This is example for the power factor box. This is example of the neutral link. So this neutral link is a new one compared to the header of the week 7, which the neutral link is quiet root. Now we proceed to the week 8. So what I learned was the voting for the project, the list of asset, the voltage drop, the size cable being used, and the note of the lamp traffic. This voting had been done based on the SOP had been underlined by government. So this voting of the project being done to the contractor. So the contractor that was lucky being able to get the project from the JKR. This is an example of the list of assets inside the building of JKR, where we need to quantity it. So it involves the management, and then this help the JKR to underline which was the equipment or the asset was broken. This is example of the voltage drop, where the VD was the permissible voltage drop, the L was the length of the cable, IN is the current from the supply, and then we divide by 1000. So all of the information we can get from the catalog. This is example of the cable used, which is multi-core armored cable and this multi-core cable. So the difference between it is the voltage operating, the temperature, and the function of itself. So we need to determine which cable we use, which is 2-core cable or 2-core cable single phase, or 3 or 4-core 3-phase. So we need to determine which one in order for the VD, impermissible voltage, and then the length we need to know. IN is for the current supply, and divide by 1000, and then we can get the voltage drop. So the voltage drop can be determined. The node of the traffic line was prepared by the PPK Technology Sdn Bhd, which is located at the Malacca. So the example of the nodes, which is housing door, lens visor, bulb lamp, reflector. This one is the old one, but there are many slides of the PPK Technology Sdn Bhd about on traffic light. We got this, and then detail on about the SRAM card, SSR card, detector card, the PLC, the component inside the traffic light feeder pillar. Now we proceed to the extras. So the extras was about all what I learned, and then I compromise it in the extras because I cannot explain at all at once because it will take the long time. So does my studies or lesson objective was achieved? Yes, it is because I was being exposed by the using of many meters in order to operate the installation of the wiring and electrical system, and then I have been exposed on how the plan, the schematic of the AutoCAD and the sketch also, and then I also have been exposed on how the use of feeder pillar, MSB, the transformer, the traffic light, the genset, IDMT, and much more. And then I also have been learned by the calculation of the lux, voltage drop, TCL and MD, power factor, the and much more. This was thank you to the Encik Azlan, which teach me on the about the book of the technique of book, and then the Encik Mohayudin, Encik Hafizi, Encik Suf, Encik Safwan, Encik Ridwan, and the two practical from the autumn. So this is all the memory. There are much more about the picture, but I choose the nice one. So thanks to the Encik Jalil also, to the Encik Wan, Encik Megat, and to the all staff of JKR in teaching me. So there was the a little quote which is, ilmu itu bukan yang dihafal tetapi yang memberi manfaat, from the Imam Shafawi. I'm sorry, but I just speak in Malay. That's all, and thank you.